Okay, Bishmet Vila. In the Eretz Kuba, Tzrikul Matar, Yamzigam, if an entire land needs rain in the summertime. And then Tava of Yachal, one person made a mistake, Vishal Matar, Birachas Hashanim, and asked for rain in the Birachas Hashanim, and wrote so close to the Mispal of the Torah. And David, once you can repray in a David prayer, below Shailas um, without requesting Birachas Hashanim and Birachas Hashanim Baruch but he's not obligated to repeat because I guess the whole land was obligated. Klal. This from the base Yosef and the Shem of Ria, Ramban, Iran, Isur, Rosh, the Helmet, Rosh. Okay. Camel. Sorry, in the base in the mission bro, Mispal Ozen Mispal rephrase. My mission see him called to be long since he's finished his entire prayer. All the answer is Mispal the and then he repeats and prays Ben Adavan and Adavan Mitzchilas as Tzilas in the beginning of prayer. The Imnis Karkodim Trasiim, if he remembers before finishing, Lo Shayach Lomer Shiach Asir Berachas Hashanim, it's not applicable to say that he should repeat Berachas Hashanim. So he finished the whole prayer. Then he should repeat Berachas Hashanim Mitzchilas from the beginning of prayer. Imnis Karkodim Trasiim, if he remembers before. So he's finished the whole prayer. Then he goes back and plays Ben Adavan Mitzchilas from the beginning of prayer. But even if he remembers before finishing, the Hashanim can't say he goes back to Berachas Hashanim, he spelled Ben Adav, pray Ben Adav. That doesn't work. Eliasayim B'Tfilah is called Tfilah, rather should finish the whole prayer. But after he has to be spelled B'Torah Adav, and afterwards you go back and pray as the Adav if you want. This is from the Maimon Mordechai. Klal. You're not obligated to do rid of it at all. I'm Beralacha the Beralacha. If there was no holding back of rain and he asked for rain, Medina Seinu, the pet me pass off out of thirst. In our countries from Pesach until Shavuos. Tzarech Medina Lechaz L'Spal, then you would have it from the law to go back and repray. The Torah Sindava as an Idava. If there was no holding back of rain. Gimel. And also if he asks for rain during the summertime, we make him repeat. Matar. Bein Shishal Tal Olo, whether he asks for rain, do or not. This is from the Beit Yosef. You would, okay, it would still be a problem. Yom Zuchama in the summertime. I'm the Elba Simon Cotton Yadalef. Look earlier in Sefan Yadalef. I'm Beralacha, look at the Beralacha. Dim Shal Matar Achar Achag. That if you ask for rain after Sukkot, Af Kodem Shishim Yom, even before 60 days, the Tekuva. And if he asks for rain after Sukkot, even before 60 days of the Tekuva of the Medinos, even 60 days of the Tekuva in Medinos Mountains, and countries which need rain, the Tchilas Achar at the beginning of the winter, Tzarech Chazer Ulispal Rak V'Tor Sadav, he has to go back and pray in category of a Nadava. Yeah, meaning he did it. He did it right after Sukkot. He asked for Saint Talamat, so he didn't wait for December 4th. So then he would have to repray, but only B'tar Sadam. Masir and also, I mean, assuming this country needed rain. Okay, then it would be on the Dama. Masir and also make him repeat. Hainu im ikar im akaragov close the Rosh Hashanah. That means if he moved his feet and left finished prayer, then he goes back to the beginning of prayer. If imlo akaragov, if he didn't uproot his feet, closes the tefillas berachos Hashanah, he goes back to the beginning of berachos Hashanah. Afilim im nizkar kodim shasiyam bracha. Even if he remembers before finishing the bracha, yach v'gam came to the tefillas berachos Hashanah, he should go back to the beginning of berachos Hashanah. Okay. Afilim im nizkar kodim shasiyam bracha. If he remembers before finishing the bracha, yach v'gam came to the tefillas berachos Hashanah, he should go back to the beginning of berachos Hashanah. Fine beralacha, look at the beralacha. Okay. Let me guess this. Okay, Dalid. Imlo shal malta b'yom If he didn't ask for rain during the winter time, Malzir and also apapish shal tal, we make him repeat even though he mentioned do. Abel im shal malta below tal, but if he mentioned for rain and not do, in Malzir and also we don't make him repeat. Imlo shal malta, but he did do right, do, and we make him repeat. I'm very local. I'm looking at the Magam Bashari Shuvish, the Shekas which right. The Imnis Kakodim Shehiskul the Kabashofer. That if he remembers before saying the Kabashofer, Omer Sham, you should say it there. You should say the same Talamat to the Veracha. Ubesim Kafidal Berlacha, look at Sim and Sim Kafidal and Berlacha, the Beramaska below Chasima. Arach numbers that were length about this. Brianna Diosotov Shiomer Bishamet Field spelled better just to say it in Shemet Field was saying Talamat. The Bezayas of the Kulyamis Yos according to Weber. Everyone. Answer Matzah B'Sefer Kitzur Shulchan. Now I found in the book Kitzur Shulchan. Shepas Gam Kenach he also passed this way. The Imnis Kar Kodim Shesiyam Berachos Hashanim. If he remembers before saying Berachos Hashanim, Yomer B'Makom Sheniska, he should say where that in the place where he remembered, like in the middle of Berachos Hashanim, he said there. Ach Imnis Kar Achar Kashanim Atovos. But if he remembers after he said Kashanim Atovos, Yasav Yomer Baruch Shenasenu Kashanim Atovos. He should, then he should repeat the words Baruch Shenasenu Kashanim Atovos. Even in order that it should be the end similar to the end next to the end. So you have to make sure to send right before the bracha something which is similar to the Baruch Leinu bracha. You say Baruch Shenasenu Kashanim Atovos. Then you say Baruch Hashem Baruch Hashanim. But Tov Yosef Shiyaz still the same Talamatzah of a Gviyag Merkaseder. It's better just to go start saying Talamatzah then complete in order and just go even in the, don't say it right where you are, just go back until the same Talamatzah and finish in order. Ayin El Simon Kavi down to Zion look earlier and Simon Kavi down to Zion. Sivav Uber Alacha the Ver Maska Umaka and the Ver Alacha the Ver Maska Umaka. Himlo Shalom Matzah Meniska Kolim Shemet. If he didn't ask for rain and you remember before Shemet Tefillah. Okay. If he didn't ask for rain and he remembers before Shemet Tefillah, Ein Masivin also, then we don't make him repeat. V'shol b'Shemet Tefillah, he can just ask for it in Shemet Tefillah. V'im haya lo tainus v'tzorach lo manenu, if there was a fast day, you have to say anenu. Yomer Sheila Kodem Anenu, you should do the first Sheila before Anenu, and I guess it's Shemet Tefillah. This is from the Avidraham. V'im lo nizkar ad achar Shemet Tefillah, if he only remembers until after Shemet Tefillah. Im lo achal ragel, if he did not root his feet, that he hasn't finished his whole prayer. And closes the Berachos Hashanim, he goes back to Berachos Hashanim Baruch Aleinu. Im makar ragel, if he did uproot his feet, closes the Berachos Tefillah, goes back to the beginning of prayer. V'im hashliach hishlem tefillah, so if he finished his prayer, ve'eno ragel Lomer Tanchanunim after Acher Tefillah. So he's not accustomed, doesn't have the custom to say supplications after his prayer. Alphabisha Zayin Lo Akaragli, even though he still hasn't uprooted his feet. But Karakurim Dami counts as if they're uprooted, meaning he's finished everything he's normally said, now it's done. Okay. If he remembers after finishing Shemet Tefillah, before starting with say, it seems that you could just say the word say right where you are after Shemet Tefillah before starting with say. Mishal b'Shemet Tefillah, Mishnah Berurah says, Berurah Shemet Shema Kaleinu, and the bracha Shema Kaleinu, Kodem Kiyat HaShemet before Kiyat HaShemet. Shemesuken is the Shlomo Kol Bakashus that you be set up to ask in there any request. You could look on B'Simon Kafi Test. Abu Haskaris Mashim Baruch for the response, but the mentioning Mashim Baruch, Hamlin the El B'Simon Kafi Adalit, the Imshach Kozi that we pass in Kafi Adalit. If you made a mistake, you have to repeat. Mishum the Haskaris Shavachu, because mentioning this Mashim Baruch Amen Umarid Hashem is just a praise. The aim of Koma Bezu Baruch Hashem is Ukenet the Bakashim. It's not such place in this kind of bracha Shemet Tefillah, which is set up for a bakasha. Kodem Anenu, before Anenu, you should say the same Halamata. The Sheila Chambura Mein Anenu, comes from requesting for rain is more chomer than Anenu. In the Imlo Amra Machzun, also that if you don't say it, you with same Halamata, you're going to have to repeat the whole davening. Hasha Inkim Beinenu, which is not true Beinenu, that if you didn't say it, it's not the biggest deal. Kakurim Dami, when you're finishing and you have nothing else to say, that's as if you've already finished and uprooted. Same thing would be if he's accustomed to say supplication with Siyam Tachanunav, and he finishes supplications. And we said after those psukim, he's finished all things, he does say Yula Ratzon. Shebamir's pasuk zeh asas hachadas, by saying this pasuk he's made hachadas, like removed his mind. Milomer od tachanunim nishlam tefillah. So I'm saying any more supplication, and he's finished his prayer. Avu bishlo hiskol adayin os shalom, even though he hasn't started already os shalom, but he's finished everything before os shalom, and before he's finished. And he normally says all this stuff, and then Yula Ratzon. He said the Yula Ratzon. That's it. He's done. Prayer's over. He has to restart. After he finishes Shemet Tefillah. If he remembers after saying Baruch Hashem, in Sayim Lamdeni Kukacha, so we should conclude Lamdeni Kukacha. Yom V'Sein Talamata V'Achkach Kiyat HaShemea, and you should say V'Sein Talamata, then go back in order of Kiyat HaShemea V'Chulu and the rest of it. And this from the Verlacha Le'el V'Simon Kaf Yudal. Earlier in Simon Kaf Yudal. Alef. Ashiva Shavteinu Chasam Ba Melech Tzedakah Mishpat. And Ashiva Shavteinu we conclude that king who loves tzedakah and judgment. From Rosh Hashanah until Yom Kippur, Chosam Melech Mishpat, we conclude the Melech Mishpat. Haga Umiyu Im Amar Melech Tzedakah Mishpat. However, if you conclude Melech Tzedakah Mishpat, in Tzarech Chaz you don't have to repeat. V'lo Amru Shiyaser El B'Makom Shekol Hashanah Omer Makelo. Ellen, just in the case where the entire year they say Hakel Ohev Tzedakah Mishpat, but they don't say. I mean, the God which loves judgment, righteousness, and judgment doesn't say Melech Ohev Tzedakah Mishpat. Doesn't say king. It's the Rabbi Ben Yonah. So Perek Kaf Aleph the Brachos the Torah V'Agos Minhagim. Behind the Kam Simon Kaf Top Kaf Pei Beis. Look later on in Simon Kaf Beis Pei Beis. Melech Ohev. The Im Amr B'chol Hashan, if he says the entire year Melech Mishpat, or Kel Mishpat Yasa, or if he said a Melech Mishpat, or he said a Kel Mishpat, during the entire year you would be able to b'diavad, and that's fine. This is from the Shari Tshuva in the Shara Achronim, and this is from the Prima Gadim. Now you could say even a Kel Mishpat. That's interesting. Hamelech Mishpat. You're supposed to say Hamelech Mishpat b'shnei hayin, with two hays. Hamelech Mishpat. Be careful about this. This is from the Derech Chaim. Ki yesh ramim delo yatz, because those say that you're not yatz. I mean, Kamakam b'diavad imamar Melech Mishpat, and still b'diavad, if you didn't say the both hays, you said and just said Melech Mishpat, you wouldn't have to repeat, and that's good enough. Ein tzarich l'chaz, you wouldn't have to repeat. V'hain b'achronim demach, you look at the achronim which conclude this from the Derech Chaim and the Shar Achronim. The im nizkar tochadei dibra, if he remembers before within tochadei dibra, me'ish amru mishpat, from the time you said mishpat, and he remembers. Omer hamelch mishpat gamkim. You could also say hamelch mishpat also. So meaning, we said melch tzedakah mishpat, you should say hamelch mishpat also right there. If you say within tochadei dibra, v'im la'achar kadei dibra shuv lo yomer in masir naso. If after Kedei Dibur, then you wouldn't have to say anything, and we don't make them repeat. That's the only parallel. This is going to be a long one. Amilim. So back to the first one. If he's in a land which is needs rain, and a single person made a mistake and requests for rain, so then he should do it by himself, right? The reason for this then, who I'll pay to Shubas Rosh is for the opinion of based on the response of the Rosh. Shatam, which asked the question, why are we asking for them questions? Like the people of Eretz Yisrael. No, you don't, and Basa b'nei Babel even though granted we are drag ourselves after like the people of Babel. Hainu b'din men hadinim. That means with judgments from the judgment. Shecholkim b'nei Marava im Talmud. That means when Israel is arguing with the people of Babel, okay, with the Talmud in Babel. O b'nei chutz la'aretz im b'nei Yisrael, im b'nei Eretz Yisrael, the people of chutz la'aretz are with the people of Eretz Yisrael are arguing. Mash'enkim b'zem totally b'teva haros. It's not true in this case, where it's based on the nature of the lands. Because in Eretz Yisrael they needed rain and Zayin Cheshvan. Therefore they're asking Zayin Cheshvan. The people of Babel didn't need the Geshamim for rain until 60 days after the Tekufa. Therefore they weren't asking until the time. If it's on people in lands which need rain on Cheshvan, it's fitting that they should be customing just like the people in Eretz Yisrael. The Shol b'Zayin Cheshvan to ask the Zayin Cheshvan. Similarly, if in the places in the land which need rain, also in the time of the summer, they need rain the whole time. But from all areas, Ashkenaz, like the land of Ashkenaz, the Rosh mentions there's a gam mimei Pesach Atzeres, even from the days of Pesach until Atzeres, he needs rain. Holding a mitzvila won't be made, or all the prayer should be like the days of winter in Eretz Yisrael. Because of Rosh, Shalom is kaput the bar of the snake Doro, the Rosh says that he wasn't accepted his words in front of the Chum of his generation. And through this, the Rav of Beis Yosef said, right, Noid l'chasilu lo karmelan kabasi. Granted, l'chasilu we don't pass him like him, that he should be passing, that he should be saying Talmud whenever he needs it, say Talmud. But the fruits is Yisrael to look of us, because it's spread out like in the I guess in the people of Israel did not like him, or I don't know what it means exactly. Mikomokum b'diavad im yachad tav still b'diavad. If one person made a mistake v'hisker b'zman and he mentioned it in a time when you did need rain, then ein chayav l'chazid. This probably you don't have to go back and repay. Alabatar and dove rather just in the category of gift payment of gift prayer. This explains the words of Shulchan Aruch. And Mashikaz of Imbar. So this he says if in a land. Perish lafukim Azar Ayaros Sriya Tanamata. That means it explains it's to exclude a land which certain city which does need rain. Kol she'ein aleim shem eretz yichidim dami. As long as they don't have the name of a whole country, they're like single person, even though they're a city. But if you live every rush, even according to the rush, that doesn't count, and it's just one city doesn't count. Kain muchal b'tshuvas rush, similar is proven that tshuvas rush. V'huva b'beis Yosef, brought in the beis Yosef. If you live b'diavad im shal matzah b'berachos hashanim b'chozu, and then even b'diavad if you ask for rain, you would have to repeat the whole thing. Ulapella is every pericodesh, and it's a pel on the board of the kodesh. The pasuk the year achos the shvita l'matzah pasuk is even one city which needs rain. Gam ke b'diavad and closes, and still b'diavad doesn't repeat. Hayesh raya me'ahid the name Ninveh. The heppel is the raya from the case of Ninveh, the opposite. In Moshe Nidchok, but over unless you press yourself and say the Masha Pazuk Sham Hagambar B'Shemei Tefillah is a pasuk there in B'Shemei Tefillah Hainu Rak Leinin Lechafila was only for the Chafila Abu B'Diavad Afila was Berachos Hashanim, but B'Diavad even Berachos Hashanim you could do it and say Shema Kolein and say the whole Saint Talamatar even in Berachos Hashanim if it's a city even to ask for rain according to his opinion. If it's earthly, it needs the Hatrika Matar, which needs rain. Mashma Ketzach, Milashin says, Mashma a little bit from this language. Adapti Sheneka, Shishanetzar Hamatar. It's only when the rain is being held back. Avalav Hafta Masir, and also without this you make you repeat. Avafisha Geshem Amaka Mahu, Aino Simaklov, even though having rain at that point wouldn't be a sign for a bad sign. Ulafima the Mashram Michuvas Arash, according to what's Mashram the Chuvas Arash, Shemimen and Mekordin and from him as a source listed, Hamadinos Risha Tzrifos Matas Bein Pesach Hadzaras, and the country proceed rain between Pesach and Shavuos. Ashkenaz Bidom like Ashkenaz and stuff like that. Afilu Bistama the Nayav Kumobi Mechar, that even Stam the Jinn is like the winter. Eretz Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael. Annoyed the Chachilu Karmel and Kabas, even though the granted the Chachilu we don't pass him like him like Chachila. But at the very least, in regards to B'diavad, it doesn't have to repeat. Okay. Mitzarafin needs in if you have to. You're not the Chachilo Karmel Goz, you don't pass like him. When regards to B'diavad, they don't have to repeat. But Mitzarafin, you don't need in. This is from the Magen Avraham, Machas Shekel. But I'm Sefer Zachar Avram. Look at the book of Sefer Zachar Avram. Shekos lo yikanis b'safik brachos. You shouldn't enter into a safik brachos, and therefore you shouldn't be saying it. But shouldn't repeat, I guess, if he did say it. Onkas of Sham further says the Huadin Ladidan, same thing would be according to us, Mekomosinu in our places, that we need rain between Pesach and Shavuos. The Imta Vishal Az Mater, that if you made a mistake and asked for then for rain, you wouldn't have to repeat. Okay. We need rain between Pesach and Shavuos. If you made a mistake and asked them for rain, they didn't answer al-Chazal. You wouldn't have to repeat. Okay. So the same thing we just said before. Okay. Because the kafir nira that it seems that according to its scene, komakom l'salalu akrobim le'arachokim hem tzrichem. So then all these places which are close and which are distant, they need rain. But how they kamol keretz Ashkenaz are similar. They are all like the land of Ashkenaz, or Sfard, and like Sfard. Because of a rush, I had some which the rush talked about. Look there. Okay. The kafir nira. Second, Ansham. Midivre Derachayim, with the words of Derachayim B'chayah, the mashma, the sphere, the Litzmas, they hold the dafka kishahaya tiras hagasham. It's only if there was actually like a drought of rain. Aval b'lavach. Without this, Chay b'chazal chazbal, he's obligated to go back and repray. Nearly the whole speak the din. It seems that this is a suffix in the law. Al kain yasta be spelled the yasta. Therefore, he should go back and repray and make a stipulation and say if I'm obligated, I should do it, and if not, I shouldn't do it. Im lo yatzasi yidei chavas yadat I take the chova. Then if I didn't fulfill my obligation, tell him it should be for an obligation. It should be for a chova. I guess if he said the same matter, he should say if I'm still up, if I made a mistake and I have to repeat, then it should be a chova. If I've been yotzi, the hela doesn't double should be for nadat. Nadav for again. Ukarel b'simen kafkas. We said earlier in simen kafkas if you're out. Moshe gas veragla b'simen. That Bisham, as it says, Berger on this semen and there. The fake of the Dina Havi Suffix, low, him his spell, in because the law of the suffix of the law is like a suffix if you prayed. Shabbat Semen Kavzain, which sends Kavzain is a valid. Ein Sham Magan Ram, look there in this Magan Ram. Wooden Bekoza Im Tab Bishal Mata Bizaim Machajman. The same thing would be if in all this if you made a mistake and asked for rain on the design of Machajman. Ulahalam B'Medinos Shabbat or later on in the countries which are in Chutz La'aretz. And three kamar mata b'tchilas sechor, which means rain at the beginning of the winter. Yasab is probably Yisna Canal. He should go back and we pray and make the stipulations mentioned earlier. Nakomi half time and all this is for this reason because maybe you're not allowed to in these countries. Bebirke Yosef b'Shari Chum, because the Birke Yosef and Shari Chum pass to be the evidence or like Azilis Balakar Advaz. They pass in the Bidi you don't have to repray like the Red Vaz. And Mavor Sham the advised and clear that in the advised time his reason the Kivan Shabamakamu who's man Geshem since in this place where you're in, it's a time for rain. Even though right now he doesn't need rain, Ain Lachazal as Fili shouldn't repeat the prayer if he feels that because of the Kivan Shakaponim, Ain Semen since at the very least it's not a sign of a curse, it's not a bad thing at that point. Who's Svarka Magan Avram can now that's like the Svar of the Magan Avram as mentioned earlier. From the Derech Chaim the Chayyadim, Va'od Eza Achron, and further many Achron, further certain Achron. Master the low tops is there Svar Ladina, they don't pass like this Svar for the din. And low Shiesh Tiras Kasam, behead unless it's straight out lacking of rain. Al Kain near Shias, the rain left, it seems like you should do like our words and just make a stipulation and say if I'm obligated, this should be count. If not, this should be a double. Canal as mentioned earlier. Taba b'yachid, if a single person made a mistake, near Basha Duadin is called Tzibur or Shlil Tzibur Tab B'Shal L'Tam. The same thing. It seems as obvious that if the same thing would be if the whole congregation or the Shlil Tzibur made a mistake and asked for dew and rain. Gam Kenin Chayv L'Chazir also wouldn't be obligated to repeat. So at the Tamhu, because the reason is like the Miriah says, the Be'emes near in Divrei Rosh, in truth the words of the Rosh are right, and you should be saying the same Talmud. You smoke a level upon him, then the Yavin, you could rely on him at the very least to be the Yavin. Yim Kain, Mali Yachad Mishlil Tzibur, what's the difference Yachad or Shlil Tzibur? The Tzibur, or if it's a congregation, you can rely on this anyway. But how did not the Yachad or Abu? So this is picked a single person was just for a Chedish. I feel I'm not Yachad Shal Matar, even if a single person asks for rain, Umatar Shal, as for Talamatar Shloka Minag Kola Tzibur, like the congregation of the whole, not like the minhag of the whole congregation. I feel also Shabridami still it's good. Human should start off for having since it's the need for the public. Okay, mashma levosh, similar to mashma levosh. Lepella al prima godam, it's a wonder on the prima godam, but there are chaim shekosum the daf yachved, the right that it's only a single person. Avo shliel tzibur chosa, but if it was a shliel tzibur, he would have to repeat. The end lehem shum akorlizas, there's no source for this. Only B'shitas is also further seems in B'shitas. The other nothing Yachid, this to depict a single person. Mishum the B'tzibur, Afilu B'toris Nadava, and Yachal L'chaz L'spal. If it would be a congregation, even in the category of a gift, you couldn't go back and repray. Okay, Le'el B'simon Kav Zayin Sefez, Gimel, it says earlier in Simon, Kav Zayin Kav Gimel. Avachuyu B'leka Afilu B'tzibur, but there would be no obligation to repeat even in the congregation. But you couldn't repeat. It'd be worse. You couldn't even repeat as an adult before we a tzibur. When you're the who then which the tzibur seems the same thing would be by a shliel tzibur. You wouldn't have to repeat, and you guess you couldn't say nadava. Gamma masha kasav the prima gadam. Further, what it says in the prima gadam, mishra zav sefkat beis. The dafka imta. It's only if you made a mistake. Avolim haziv v'chos rosh. But if you made purposely decided to rest rain, you would have to repeat. Pleel b'simen kaf yadalad, etc. And simen kaf yadalad. And here sayti lanu chalomer zeh ben yanani chalal. It's min paham lepin. It seems you can't say this at all. So tam hu mishum the yesh the smoke for the yavan al rush. Because the reason is because you can rely on the yavan on the rush. Bahari day, the vadi afilu hazid no chazab. And according to him, according to him, even if you did it b'meiz, you wouldn't have to repeat. The nosach of bracha kachu, because the language of the bracha, that's how it is according to the rush. Mishal Monti, you ask for rain. Mashra shebegeshem lo tam, the mashra that he doesn't, by rain he didn't make a mistake. Ela hisnag geshar b'nei adam v'lo hiskir. That forget he didn't make a mistake. Rather, he made the custom like other people, and he didn't mention it. Meaning he didn't say Mashra Ruach Umar Geshem. Still, he's not obligated to go back and repray for a rain. Well, the is the question. No, on time who is like a rush. The reason is why it's okay is because maybe the loss is like a rush. And it drags on the time for asking there further, and as the rush is. So then also the time for mentioning should also be dragged there for the law, and you should be saying it there. It says the Truva they're straight out. They're both equal. That's Mashiach and Saint Alamazar. If so, then you should repeat anyway because he didn't say Mashiach. Did you say Mashiach? No. Did you say Saint Alamazar? So so who are you holding like? The Mashiach would say you'd have to repeat because you didn't say Mashiach. The other opinion would say you'd have to repeat because you didn't say because you said Saint Alamazar. Because it says because the Rosh Paskins in these kind of countries, there should be the din like of repeating Shalom Murray to Gashem, Me'atzeres Ve'elach, that should be from Atzeres and onwards. From Eretz Yisrael, like in Eretz Yisraal, in Pesach Ve'elach, from Pesach and on, Rezayin Sham. The Mashra Sham, the Sham, and the garments, Mashra, they're completely the same. Im Kain, Ki Hechad the Eretz Yisrael, Im Lochai Hizkir Ad Pesach Masirna. So just like in Eretz Yisrael, if you didn't mention until Pesach, you would make him repeat. Hachinami Bezeh Ad Atzeres, so to by this, until Atzeres, you would have to repeat if you didn't mention it. So if so, we're saying that according to the Rush that this counts as like just like before Pesach and you would have to repeat. So then, you're not going to be good. You're not going to be Yotzi or Tefillah with this. This would be a source of proof to the Prima Gadam. It says in Kaf Yidal as well, that by according to the opinion of the Shulchan Aruch, by mentioning of Mashiach Baruch Hu even one land which all needs rain, and also even still would make a repeat. The low skill like Rush doesn't hold like this at all, like the Rush. Sham and Ber Halakha, look there and meaning and you wouldn't say Mashiach Baruch Hu Geshem. Ein Sham Ber Halakha, look there the Ber Halakha Mashiach Kasam, the other said we wrote because of this. And or then perhaps the Shulchan Aruch is talking on this when he said Umihu Leminhago Minag Svarad, according to his Minag the Minag of Svarad, should know again Lomer Tal B'Yom Chama, which they have the Minag to say Tal anyway in the times of the summer. Ukulele b'Simon Kuf Yudal Sif Gimel said earlier in Sif Kuf Yudal Sif Gimel. But Carmel and Sham b'Sifei when Pasuk learned Shifei the Yemizkir Tal b'Makom Geshem, and if he did mention Tal in the place of Geshem, didn't say Geshem when he should have said Geshem, in Masum he doesn't have to. In Masum also he doesn't have to repeat. Avozeu Dochik. That's a little Dochik when you say okay, so you didn't mention Mashim Baruch Hashem, you didn't say V'Sei Tal Market. So who are you holding like? I'm holding like the Rush. You didn't say V'Sei Mashim Baruch Hashem, but you said V'Roy Tal. But yeah, that's okay. This is a little dochuk. The maskal b'tarti svared b'ashna b'sayim b'chada. That he started with the problem with this is he started with both Sfarad and Ashkenaz and just concluded with one with Sfarad which says Tal Matar. Okay. Im Shal Matar we asked for rain. Next halacha. And it said B'yam b'sacham. He did in the summer, then he would make him repeat. I'm Mishnah Berura. Look at the Mishnah Berura. The Sark Chaz of the Tchilas Berachos Hashanim. You have to go back to the beginning of Berachos Hashanim. Nimlo Hisrol Marat from the same Beracha. If you just started from the same Beracha, lo mi boy im nizkar betocha de dimor. We don't need to mention if you remember it in betos. Remember within tocha de dimor. Vada yotze b'diavad. You're for sure yotze b'diavad. Ela afilim achar kadei. Even if achar kadei dimor, hiskol the same Beracha. He started saying the same Beracha. Ubarach shanasenu. And then say to them, Baruch Hashem, V'siyam Baruch, and finish the Bracha. Yatzu b'diavad, you still be Yatzu b'diavad. Mishna Chayadam, Ayin Sham, Benishmus Adam, Luper, Mishimus L'Sadam. So when you repeat, if you just play the same Bracha, so you just say that. And even like right after, you could go back to the same Bracha and repeat. But you should really be between, you should go really back to the beginning of the Bracha. But you could, if you went back to the same Bracha, it would be fine. Hey, Imlo Shalmat, we didn't ask for rain. The Chorin Yod did Imchiser B'Sharetz Brachos. The same thing would be if you forgot by lack one of the other brachos. Do Daber Shu Mei Ikar Brachos, something which is from the main part of the bracha, could go in Shachisu in Kibbutz Koles. For example, you missed the topic of the gathering of the exiles. And Berkos Tzikav B'Shofar in the bracha of Tzikav B'Shofar. Shenikris Megillah Daf Yud Gimel Yud Zayin Al Shem Zeh. That was called the Megillah because of this, the gathering of. And Daf Yudam the gathering of Galios. Look there. Gamkin Yoshel Hashlim the Berachos Shemen Tefillah was also able to finish with the bracha of Shemen Tefillah and to finish it up. Ibrahim Mitospos, and the proof is from Tosas brachos of Tes Amanal, and the brachos of Tes Amanal to be a mask with name. The lo miyatu rak davar shu me'inyan shemach. They only exclude something which is from the topic of shemach. It's saying in Shemen Tefillah Kugon Haskara of Abdullah, for example, mentioning Mash Baruch and Abdullah. Rishar Shavachim and other type of phrase. Shein Amin Tefillah B'Kash is not the topic of prayer and request. Mashain Kim is that which is not true about this. V'gam Afilu which is okay. V'gam Afilu by Abdullah Guf and also even by Abdullah itself. Pasuk Magen Avram the Magen Avram Pasuk with some Reish Sadi Dalat Sif Kat and Gimel. Yadei Shlo Yehelo Kos Abdullah, if he knows that he won't have a cup to make Abdullah on. V'shachach lomer Abdullah b'chon and das, and if you got to say Abdullah and chon and das, Yomer b'shmet tefillah, you could just say in shmet tefillah kadesh lo yitzarach das, and others shouldn't have to repeat, as you can't say I'm going to say an Abdullah and don't have any cup. So just say in shmet tefillah. Imkein hu then v'zeh, so the same thing would be here. You could ask the same halamat in shmet tefillah. Madi yis l'kam b'simon kofiyat das. This says later on in simon kofiyat das, sim gimel, the im tab bracha achos, that if you made a mistake in one bracha, me'am sneos from the middle one, shachos the rosh bracha, that you go back to the beginning of the bracha. After the hasam ma'ir shenizkar achos shemet tefillah, it's possible there we're talking mentioned after shemet tefillah. But if you're not, then you can just say in shemet tefillah. But say that the halal b'dvarv sham klal, that to prove it to you, doesn't say there in his words there, klal gam kenim tav v'shach, that also includes there if you made a mistake or forgot. Lomer taler matzor to say taler matzor, beberachos hashanim and berachos hashanim. And with this, for sure, you shouldn't go back to the beginning of the prayer. Rather, what you should be doing is prayer Shemet Tefillah. So just like there, when it said Talamata meant, assuming you got past prayer, if you got past Shemet Tefillah, so too, any other time when you messed up the main part, you could say it in Shemet. It means after you said Shemet Tefillah, but otherwise you could say it in Shemet Tefillah. Then a makabarak and nisker achos shmeat tefillah. Rather, for sure it has to be that they only makes it only like happens the din of the machaber except if you mention shmeat tefillah, you have to be past shmeat tefillah. And again, after the what din is that, if so, it's possible also to win this. A mashlo bear makaber sham the beferish. Let the makaber didn't say it's beferish. Mishum the rats sham lachal dino gamlein and dilig. And then because once included, they're also in regards to skipping. But dilig age shem nafkamina ben niskar kodem shmeat tefillah rachadikach. And if you skip. There's no difference between before Shemaya Tefillah or after Shemaya Tefillah. The Imishai L'Chal B'Shemaya Tefillah, you don't have permission to say it in Shemaya Tefillah. After Pri Chodesh, Meiko Gam B'Zeh, even though the Pri Chodesh is Meiko, even in this case when you skip, Kavar Sigo Chayad already asked them, Gam Indian Toes, Kol Im Host of the Dover, and also when he says the mistake, it includes if you add a certain thing, Shuma Kalkal is a bracha which destroys the bracha. Going to Amr Talamat to be on September, for example, he said Talamat in the summer, Ukagam not so good. But Zeba Vadi and Lo Shamtikum Shemet Tefillah. And with this, for sure there's no fixing when you said Shemet Tefillah. Abulin is sorry, but in regards to lacking something, after the Yukal Lashlim was possible able to finish a Shemet Tefillah of a canal in Shemet Tefillah as mentioned earlier. But Dal, the Das of Gra, and you should know that according to the opinion of the Gra, the El Basimin, Kapnan and Tessin Tamin Yakas base, the spirit which he holds, the Ekr Talib and Chasim, the main thing is based on that conclusion. Yanta Fila Ashtama, yeah, Vafilu Ashtama and Sarah, Biyotse, if he said kibbutz goliath and he didn't even say the whole, he said the kabbal didn't say kibbutz goliath, even repeating you wouldn't need. Kimi boile lefidas Shulchan Aruch. That when I'm asking is according to Shulchan Aruch. According to the Graph, show you okay. This is the Chazim right. Afterwards, the found in the Prima Galim, Misim Kofi Tassel Dalad, and some Kofi Tassel Dalad, Bimish Rozab. The diet of Gam Kin the look of Prikadish opinion is also not like the Prikadish and now. Megam Indian Sifakenu, Kifakenu Kasavinium in regards to our Sabaki rights. Dim delegates the tables if we skip certain words, Shahumi Indian Abrach, which is from the top of the Brach, or Yakulaka, Ein Yakul Hashlimo, Mishamet Vila. If certain words in the bracha, he's not able to repeat it to finish it in the Shema Tefillah. But Tam, and the reason is, to the Olam Shela Havdalah, it's not the same thing as Shela and Havdalah, and asking for rain and Havdalah. This is not a language which is set up constantly. The Kaskinton was at the Khan. Therefore, they set up for this to be a third. So the Khan is saying Shema Tefillah. Mashenke Kishina es Nusach HaKavua, which is not true when you change the language as a set language. Then you can't use the Shema Tefillah. Mikomakom Lanias Taisi Sarachim and Lamaisa, still in my humble opinion, Sarachim and Lamaisa. After the Das Agra, since the opinion of the Gravo, Kamen Bishon, the Ekr Tolib Chasim of the Wood, the main thing is based on the conclusion alone. You just have to get the conclusion right, even if you skip the middle, it's okay. After the Bezah Yesh the Tsar, Lizah Das Pre-Chodesh, it's possible you can combine with this the opinion of the Pre-Chodesh, and now which mentioned earlier. Yeah, Yakula Shlima b'Shemay Tefillah, and be able to finish it, to replace it in the Shemay Tefillah. Higam Prima Gadim lo heavy rilas for also b'zeh, because even the Prima Gadim doesn't bring a proof to his logic about this, and therefore it could be you could say it in Shemay Tefillah, the part you missed in one of the brachos. Kakarim, it's like you, where is this? Test. So even if he didn't uproot his feet, if he doesn't say anything after this, as if he uprooted his feet, he's at the end of all the stuff he says after prayer. I'm Mishnah Berura, look at the Mishnah Berura, can't cost him among the Ram says the Magan 7 tough cup days. Okay, possible, according to all the everyone right. So Dolph Chayad not the Chayad should cause him to be in a curious rag that we need him to uproot his feet. Masha goes to Nishma Zazim, this says Nishma Zazim, the Yisham behaving Magan Ram, the Yisham brings the Magan Ram low nimsa, and it wasn't found. The Rishalmi, which is brought, which the Magen Avraham brings, is not found. So the problem is, Uba Perik Brachos, it's in the Perik, the Brachos is in the after Mishnah Bodim, after Mishnah Bodim. The Gam Rajba view of the Chalush Perik and Filos Shachar, and also the Rajba brings in the Perik Filos Shachar. Mechem Matzon Sebaz Hashem Yisbarach, whom I found with the help of Hashem, he should be blessed with Talmid Rabbeinu Yonah, and the Talmid Rabbeinu Yonah, Perik Filos Shachar, the B'Maskal Lo Yaman, the B'Maskal Lo Yaman, El B'Sharag, Lo Metachnunim, it's only when he says Hachnunim. Okay. Before Magen it's clear like Magen that if you finish your supplications even before you uproot your feet, it's still you've done your tefillah. Ein Sham. Where I also done Nishmas Adam, the proof of the Nishmas Adam, may Rashi the brachos Yeshlit goes from Rashi and brachos, you can push that up. That's the swab of Rashi. Rav it's possible Rashi holds the Rav Amram moved Bator B'Simen Kuf Kuf Face, which is brought into Kuf Face. Supposed to be totally rock Akarago, which is possible only based on if you have your feet. O collision of Ham the Gemara, so the Gemara, or like the first language in the Gemara there. That's how Rashi holds. So that wouldn't be a Rav from Rashi, and therefore we could still paskin that you would even before uprooting your feet, but once you say supplication before prayer, it's it.